Let's go to the second inning, to the second out. Sorry, not the second inning, second out. As we look at the Seattle Mariners at the moment, they are in a bit of trouble right now. And we were kind of talking last week about, or whether it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we were kind of talking about the Brewers and saying, if they lost the division, would you really kind of rule it a collapse? Well, the Mariners really have been struggling. They've lost their last 6 series. And right now sitting, where are they right now? They are just 2 games ahead of the Houston Astros, who were awful to begin the year, sitting at 49 and 43. So Dalton, what do you make of this? What do you make of the Mariners struggling lately? What do they need to do to kind of to figure it out? What do you make of that whole situation over there in Seattle?
So first, I just want to, I have had to eat some crow on the Guardians, so I want to take a victory lap. I told you all over and over and over to bet the Astros that the odds got longer and longer on them to win that division. They're now favored to, rightfully. I would still keep betting them. They're going to win that division. Anyway, when it comes to Seattle, it's about as simple as it can be to diagnose what's wrong with them. They can't hit. What's truly alarming about that for them is their entire approach this last offseason was, let's acquire guys that can hit. And it just didn't work. Part of it is like Julio Rodriguez has been a bad offensive player. Like Mitch Haniger has come back and hit 209. Jorge Polanco, who hit his whole career in Minnesota, is batting 189. Like Ty France, 228. Cal Raleigh, 203. J.P. Crawford, 209. Mitch Garver, 179. They just don't hit. Like, I'm not a huge batting average guy, but it's not like any of these dudes are putting up big power numbers either. Like, this team they just don't hit. It's really that simple. They're the worst offensive team in baseball in a league that has the Oakland A's in it, in a league that has the Chicago White Sox in it, in a league that has the Rockies away from Coors in it. This is the worst hitting team in baseball. It's a shame because the pitching is absurd. Like, the starting rotation is all time across the board. The bullpen, I mean, the number of guys in their bullpen with ERAs under 4, like even just looking at their box score from yesterday, like Ryan Stanek, Austin Voth, Andres Munoz, Snyder, like all these guys are just putting up awesome numbers out of the bullpen for that.
Right.
It's got to be depressing as a Mariners fan because you're sitting there and you're like, man, like we went out and like tried to make adjustments to the one hole of our team. And it just didn't work. And now we're the same team we were last year, which is a team that can really pitch and really can't hit. And that's going to land you maybe in the wild card if you're lucky. That's just the reality. They're now down to just 49 and 43 on the season. As far as the outlook for them, I think it's really important to point out that like these offensive struggles are not fixable at the deadline. They're not.
Yeah.
Like you need to address them. You need to go at least 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 bats if you can. But you're not going to fix it. Like, in order for this to get fixed, guys that they signed to hit are going to have to turn it around. Like, inevitably. Like, Jorge Polanco cannot be below the Mendoza line. Like, that just can't happen. Like, Julio Rodriguez cannot be a below-average offensive player. It's just those guys are going to have to figure it out whether they acquire talent or not. And I think Jerry Dipoto is as aggressive as anybody. Like I think more and more that's going to be the landing spot for like a Vladdy Jr. But it's not going to it's not like they're going to go out and get 1 or 2 offensive players and this thing's going to be fixed. Those guys are going to have to turn it around on their own. And they're going to have to they better figure it out quick or this division. I know they're 2 games up right now, and it's weird to say about a first place team, but like this division is going to get away from them in a hurry.
Yep. And you said before that you're not a big batting average guy. I'm a bit more of a batting average guy. Their team leader right now in batting average is Josh Rojas, who is hitting 254.
Yeah, I was going to say Luke Raley's right there at 252.
Luke Raley is at 252. Those are the only two players on their entire roster that are hitting over 250. Their team batting average is 217. They are last in the league in team batting average. They are last in the league in hits.
Like you can get away with that if you're leading league in homers.
Yeah,
but
right. They're not. No, they're not. And where are they in homers? Actually, they're tied for 12th in homers. So they are above the middle mark. But I mean, here's the thing. Their pitching. We said it at the beginning of the year. They have nothing but pitching, right? Like, so let me ask you this question, because you're right. They need a bat or two or three or nine or whatever. And Julio Rodriguez has been, I mean, he's a 632 OPS at the moment. He's been way, way, way under what we expect from him. I mean, do you entertain like surrendering a pitcher for a bat or a couple?
Yeah, if you can. Yeah. I mean, you want to do it carefully, but yeah. I mean, the simple answer is yes,
like
right?
If Logan Gilbert can get you a real serious impact bat.
Oh man, I was thinking more like you Brian. I was thinking more like Emerson Hancock, because even like prospect wise, it's pitching.
Right, they have tons of it.
I don't think you give up a guy like a Gilbert or a Kirby. I don't think you need to do that. But I mean, if giving up Emerson Hancock can get you like a good bat and a good prospect, maybe you do it. I don't hate the idea. You got to shake something up. The problem for Seattle though is like it's like you talked about with the Yankees, where it's like it almost does like it feels like, for example, if they were to pick up Vladimir Guerrero Jr., doesn't it just feel to you like he's going to go to Seattle and not hit? Like, I mean, at some point, this team's just not like maybe they're just not putting together a good game plan. Like Jorge Polanco, his whole career in Minnesota was like about as reliable as they came. Like like he's not going to be like a star, but this is consistently a very solid offensive player. Goes to Seattle, dead fish. Like at some point, they got to look inward, like and figure out what's going wrong with their offensive game planning and whatever else. Because this is, I mean, they've got talent in the building.
They do. So I want to pull up. This is the graphic from the preseason, right? I mean, and this is essentially what their lineup has been all year, right? Like that. This is what they run out virtually every day, right? Not much has changed in this lineup. Like Dominic Canzone is seeing more time, but like this is the lineup they throw out there: J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, Cal Raleigh, Ty France, Luke Raley, Mitch Haniger, Josh Rojas. Like that's a good lineup. That's a good lineup. Like, kind of like I agree with what you said. It's kind of like what I was saying before with the Yankees, where like if you put this lineup together, you're expecting it to be at least above league average offensively, right? Like at least above league average. They are dead last. Like you make a good point of like you can't fix this at the deadline. You can address it, but you can't fix it. They need guys they need their own guys to actually start hitting. You know what I mean? And I like, is this an all-star break kind of thing? Take a week off, like get yourself in the cage. I don't know. I'm like, figure it out somehow.
Whatever they're doing in the cage isn't working. And can you pull that graphic back up real quick? Because I want to talk about it too. Like one of the telltale signs when you look at an organization like this, you look at the pitching side, right? Obviously, Luis Castillo came out of the Cincinnati organization, but Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, Wu, Hancock, these are all Seattle guys, right? These are all Seattle developed guys. You look at the offensive side. J.P. Crawford came up in Philly, Jorge Polanco in Minnesota, Mitch Garver in Minnesota, Ty France in San Diego, Luke Raley with the Dodgers and Rays, Josh Rojas with the Diamondbacks. The only guys that are homegrown offensively are Julio, who has seemingly forgotten how to hit, Cal Raleigh, who's batting 203, and Mitch Haniger, who is a fossil, seemingly.
Who they let go and then brought back on the cheap.
Right. So like that's what they've developed offensively. That's it.
Yeah.
Like the rest of these guys, like even the guys that have been around the Mariners for a little while, right? Like Crawford, France. These are not Mariners guys. Like J.P. Crawford was developed by Philly. Ty France was developed by San Diego. Like you want to talk about a team that's not preparing hitters for the major league level. And you think about some of the other guys that have come up with them that were supposed to be top prospects, right? Like Jared Kelenic was their return for Edwin Diaz. Jared Kelenic couldn't hit in Seattle. Now he's hitting in Atlanta, right? Like Taylor Trammell was supposed to be the truth of as a hitting prospect.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he's still in the league. So, it's really a tough scene, man. It's really not good.
Yeah, it's Kyle Lewis to add to that list as well. I mean, they've had guys in that building that were, I mean, they were comparing Kyle Lewis to Adam Jones. Like, you're getting compared to Adam Jones. Adam Jones was a damn good ball player for a long time, and they couldn't figure it out with those guys. They couldn't do it.
And look, some of it is hitting in Seattle's heart.
Yeah.
It's a pitcher's ballpark. You get the marine layer, all that. Doesn't mean it should be this bad. It just doesn't.
Yeah, dead last is really something else. So yeah, I think the Astros are there, and I was with you really. I mean, like, I needed the Astros to figure it out fast, and they did. Like that was my caveat: is they need to figure it out fast. The clock is ticking, and they did. Like, it's no other way around it. They figured it out, and Seattle kind of blows on the offensive side. That's just the way it is. That's baseball.